You know, I haven't watched this in a long time. And the reason why I'm throwing this video up because I just feel like it. But this came out in 1981. The first one came out in 1978. So I was getting ready to go work out. And I've been off work for a little bit because I had some vacation days I got to burn up. But anyway, I said, you know what? I'm going to open this up because I had talked to you guys about wanting that imprint Halloween set, and I thought it looked good, but I'm not gonna get it. But anyway, so I decided to open this up because it's almost like 2 or 3 years old, and I did realize that I do like the way the box feels. I like the hardcover. That is what I want to say. I love the hardcover. I also like how it comes out like this. It slides in and out. And then, so I opened it up. And when I opened it up, I was like, man, this thing feels pretty good. You know, and I love how, I just love how the artwork looks on here, right? And so, I don't think I'll be trying to get a box set unless it's a really, I don't think I want that imprint one because of the fact that even if I could get it, I just don't think I would want that pumpkin thing hanging around all the time because my Friday the 13th back here, it's just much different because of the fact that it's just a Friday the 13th box set, okay? And I am going to get a Friday the 13th steel case 4K box set whenever it drops. I'm not going to lie. I am. And I'll probably still keep this. So, yeah, I would do that. But what bothered me about this is I remember when I put that video up about that imprint Halloween, how that looked good and I was interested in buying it. So I decided I said, you know what? It's Halloween season, because September the 1st, for most people like myself, we kind of get into the fall thing and the leaves are changing, temperatures dropping a little bit, and we all get the Halloween spirit. Now Halloween full on is October, but some people get their little spooky vibe on September the 1st, clearing up to the end of October, because it's just a special feeling when you grew up and when you used to go trick-or-treating. So I decided to open this up and I popped this in, and I remember I started watching it, right? But when I opened it up, I noticed it's got the 4K copy, and it also has the Blu-ray and the DVD. That's flipping fantastic, man. I tell you what, man, that's one thing I do like about collecting is I just love collecting. And it's so weird because sometimes I get tired of watching stuff on streaming. And I like my streaming services, but I tell you what, if I really would want to really just not have streaming services, I would go to Shudder. I would just do Shudder. But Netflix is my main. It'll always be my number one. I don't care what these other streaming services does, but so I started watching this, right? So I just got done watching. I'm getting ready to work out here pretty soon. So I'm sitting here watching it. I'm sitting here. It's so funny, man. They got to the hospital scene, right? And this chick, man, he tells this chick to go outside to see if she can go get some help because dead bodies obviously are starting to stack up. So she goes outside and I'm sitting there going, girl, run down the street. Run down the street. So I'm sitting here watching the movie, sitting there going, this shows you how long I haven't watched this. I'm sitting there going, please don't go and turn around and go back in the hospital. You got to know that he's back in the hospital. But this nurse chick didn't know there was a bunch of dead bodies in there. But she did know that there was something up. So one of the paramedic guys, he told her to go outside and go in the car and try to go to the sheriff and get some help. Because, obviously when Michael Myers cut the phone line, you could, Laurie Strode was kind of drugged and she was like, the phones don't work? He says, no. But there was, you know, a lot of people, I heard a lot of people say that this wasn't as near as good as the first one. And I love the first one. And the reason why I'm putting this video up is for the simple fact that I never talk about Halloween 2. I always talk about Halloween. And I always talk about Halloween. And when I watch Halloween, I always watch the first one. I never give this a shot, even though I like it. I just never give it a shot. But I have to say, I really enjoyed this movie. It was pretty good. I was yelling at TV. I was sitting there looking at the TV going, so you're gonna go right back into the hospital knowing that all the cars are freaking got flat tires. But yet you're gonna go back into the hospital. That's what I was literally sitting in this chair looking at my TV. I said, so you go back into the hospital. Yeah, she went right back into the hospital. I'm like, girl, you live in a small town. Go run down the block. This town, as big as this grown, it's a low Ohio town, but it's big, but still, you can cover some ground on foot. And my other town I grew up with, just 12 miles down the street, you can cover a lot of miles on foot. Town's bigger compared to when I was a little boy, it expanded out. But I'm sitting there watching, I'm saying, girl, you need to just take off and just run down the street or just go somewhere and get some help. But she didn't. She went right back, turned right back around, and she went right back in the hospital. I'm like, girl. So she goes back in the hospital. Obviously, she gets killed. And then Laurie Strode, you know, she's kind of drugging in and out and stuff. But, you know, there was a dream sequence in here where she was dreaming. And, you know, there was a connection between her and Michael Myers because, you know, obviously Michael Myers was her brother. Now, I'll be honest with you. I personally like that angle that Michael Myers was her brother. I think they were trying to, I know in the newer ones that they put out, these last three they put out, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, you know, they tried to, they just like did away with that. But, yeah, Dr. Loomis, you know. Now, Dr. Loomis and Michael Myers kind of blew themselves up in the hospital because they put all that gas out. But if I ain't mistaken, Dr. Loomis ended up coming back in later in some other movies later on. So I did get around to watching this because I literally did not. I don't watch this one. I don't know why. I love the first one. Now I think when I watch the first one, I think the first one is just, it grabs me so much because I graduated in 78. This movie came out in 1978. And this girl's the exact same age as me. And I have such, nostalgia, I guess you want to call it, with the first one. And so when I watch the first one, I could pop the first one in and I will not pop this one in. I don't know why. And it's what's so weird is Friday the 13th. Hold on for a second. Take Friday the 13th. They came out in 1980. So I graduated in 78. So that means I was 2 years out of high school. This came out in 1978. That's why when I get in front of this camera, I got my Alexa over here. I can just ask. So that's why I have such a close connection with these movies, because it was back when I was out of high school, man. You know, I was young, man. I was trying to lose some weight. I was trying to get buff. And, now, the reason why I bring up Friday the 13th, because I don't know why I don't do this, but Friday the 13th, I watched the first Friday the 13th, and I just watch it, and what happens is, for me, it makes me think about my mom and all my uncles and aunts that no longer here, and when I watch it, it makes me think about how I was young and how a lot of people that are near and dear to my heart is not here no more. And so I don't get sad when I watch it. It just puts me in that time frame. And I just go, golly, Vic, you were so young and you didn't have any kids and you didn't have any of these failed relationships and all this stuff. You didn't have the internet. You didn't have nothing. You just everything you had to do was go outside. It was so different back then. So when I watched that, I could just get drawn into Friday the 13th. So, and you probably saying, well, how come you can't do that with Halloween? I can, but let me just make a point. So when I don't know why I don't watch this, because one time I decided to watch, I said, hey, I'm going to watch Friday the 13th, man, You know, there's so many movies in this house, and when I watch them, I won't watch other movies, but I'll just watch this. There's like, there might be 30 movies to all 492 movies, and I'll keep just going back to them. But anyway, so I was watching, I was playing, I was watching Friday the 13th, and it made me go straight into Friday the 13th Part 2, straight into Friday the 13th Part 3, straight into 4, straight into 5. I remember one time on my Xbox, it had it was on my Xbox 360, but I can reconnect. I don't know where it's at, but I remember it was a sale to get all the Friday the 13th for a cheap sale, but it was on digital, so I went and bought it. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch Friday the 13th, and I even said to myself, I'm like, I ain't gonna watch all those ones that I said I'm not gonna watch all of them. And lo and behold, I watched one all the way up till 6. I said, dang. And I spent that much time just sitting, and I just went back to back to back. But I never give this a chance. And I think it's because I love that first one so much, I just felt like I couldn't put that genie back in the bottle. But I have to say, man, to close this out, I really enjoyed this movie. I really did. I was yelling at the TV, don't get me wrong. But, I was just like, because, the girl went outside and he told her to go and get some help, but she couldn't start the car. She gets out, she goes to the parking lot of the hospital, and all the tires are have been sliced, So obviously I'm like, okay, I'm watching TV, I'm sitting there going, this is how long I have not watched a movie. I'm sitting there going, now obviously I know you're going to go down the street to try to go get some help. You're not going to go back in the hospital because there's no phones available, and obviously something's not right. Then you're calling out to everybody, No, what she do? She goes back in the house, goes back in the hospital. And then, Michael Myers does her in. But there was some pretty slick kills in here, man. I don't think this one gets the love that the first one gets. So I'll show it some love. I'd say I really like it. Picking up exactly where the first film left off, Halloween 2 follows the same ill-fated characters as they encounter the knife-wielding maniac they left for dead in the first film. The inhuman Michael Myers is still very much alive and out for more revenge, and he stalks the deserted halls of Haddonfield Hospital as he gets closer to the main target. Dr. Loomis, Donald Pleasant, discovers the chilling mystery behind the crazed psychopath's actions. Written, directed by John Carpenter, Deborah Hill, Halloween 2 is a spine-tingling ride into the scariest night of the year. And they had a little bit more money. They ain't had that much money, but they had a little bit more money. You guys get a chance, you ought to look into seeing if they can find out what was how they made the first Halloween. Very interesting. They didn't hardly have any money. They made that on bare bones. I mean, some of the actors and all that, they had to wear their own clothes. They didn't have a wardrobe. Very interesting when you go back and look at the making of Halloween. He did that on a small scale of the budget. I don't think he ever thought, it was a simple concept basically the whole movie's wrapped around somebody babysitting, watching their own kids or brothers and sisters while the mom went out. And that night just went like, boom, just went through all kinds of hell. Who ever thought that somebody would come up with that and it would take off and make such a long list of movies, and so many generations have grew up on that. Now, my kids, they're not like me when it comes to Halloween, because I don't think I watch Halloween that much around them. I know they know of Halloween and all that stuff, but I just never had them. I got them every other weekend, and then it was hard to cram stuff in on every other weekend. So I don't think my kids have that. I watch this with my dad, and I watch it with my mom, because I don't know what their mom does, because we weren't together. So, but what I'm saying is that there's been generations that have been brought up on this thing. So, in closing, I finally got around to watching this. And yes, I know there's tons of videos that's 10, 15, 30 years old of people putting up YouTube videos about Halloween. I get that. But this is my channel. And I was like, this is not a bad movie. And I just literally got done watching this movie. And I have to say, I very much enjoyed this movie. Glad I watched it. Now I'm going to pump some iron. So, y'all take care of yourself out there. And be kind to one another. Try to give people respect and all that good stuff, you know. You want to treat people the way, if you like to be treated a certain way, then you should treat people the same way. Now, if you treat yourself like crap, then no, I don't want you to go out and treat people like crap. So, you know what I mean? So, God bless, take care, and we'll catch you next video. We'll see you.